maybe. Terrific. So good morning, everyone. I'm calling today's meeting to order on the 12th of December at 1:01 p.m. Sorry about being a minute late. So thanks for attending, all of you. We welcome board members in person and remote via video link today. And to any of the viewing public, welcome also. Please note this meeting is being videotaped. A link to the video will be posted on the Olympic Authority website following the meeting. And as we start today's items, I'll remind everybody, as I do always, to speak as clearly as possible and identify yourselves when you speak to make a motion. An agenda is included in your board package. Renee, could you call the roll, please?
Joe Martens.
Present.
Bill Beanie.
Present.
Jen Holdereen. Here. Steve Hunt.
Here.
Betty Little.
Here.
Art Lucy.
Here.
Diane Monroe. Chris Pushkarsh.
Chris said here.
Chris nodded. He just didn't.
Okay. Joe Zalewski.
Here.
Eleanor Tatum. Billy Jones.
Here.
And Gigi Luizzo.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Terrific. Thank you. First item for committee action on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes. Could I have a motion approving the minutes of our last meeting held on September 19th, 2025?
So moved.
Moved by Jen. Seconded by Bill. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the President's report, so I'm going to turn it over to Ashley.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So we have, our last board meeting was just about 3 months ago. So we have a number of updates that cover the busy last couple of months that we've had. So starting off with our fall festivals and activities, right in the middle at the top, you'll see that we started out our early season training competitions at Mount Van Hoevenberg with Team USA Bobsled and Skeleton hosting their National Push Championships. It was the first step for many athletes in their road to the 2026 Olympics. In addition to the sports events, each of the mountains hosted their fall festivals. Gore Mountain hosts their Harvest Fest. We had Fall Fest at Bel Air and Oktoberfest at Whiteface. Each of these events had record attendance over the weekends or weekend, with the exception of Bel Air, who runs it 2 consecutive weekends. Also having record numbers, Bel Air reaching at one point the first weekend on Saturday, 8,000 guests throughout the day. We had, in addition to those events, the Olympic Jumping Complex also hosted the Flaming Leaves event, which is the U.S. Ski Jumping and Nordic Combined National Championships. And that was also a very successful event with over 2,000 attendees. Our fall festivals were very quickly followed up, or actually in parallel with the UCI mountain bike event that was hosted both at Mount Van Hoevenberg and at Whiteface Mountain this year. So hosting the cross country and also the downhill events. This was October 3rd to the 5th. We had over 17,000 attendees throughout the weekend at both of the venues. It was broadcast live and also on HBO Max, Eurosport, and Flow Sports. So a widely internationally covered event. We had over 450 youth that participated in developmental races and events throughout the weekend. 30 countries were represented throughout all of the competitors. And we saw the first American to win in 30 years, and that was in the cross-country event on home soil at Mount Van Hoevenberg. We're really... Thank you. We shifted right from our Fall Fest into the start of our winter activities with Skate America. This was November 14th to the 16th. And Skate America, interestingly, was first hosted in Lake Placid in 1979. This is the 6th time that we've hosted the event, and it was the last time we had hosted it prior to this year was in 2017. It was an awesome event. It represented top skaters from across the world, including U.S. champions, world medalists, and it was a 3-day event, including men's, women's, pairs, and ice dance events. The Olympic Center quickly followed the Skate America event with the 3rd annual Adirondack Invitational. This is a Division I men's hockey collegiate event. Clarkson, St. Lawrence, UMass Lowell, and Fairbanks, Alaska competed. And Fairbanks was the, I don't want to say surprise winner. I was surprised. But a great event. And next year we have it also on Thanksgiving weekend. It's a great time for us to host the event. I think as Jen and others will tell you, it's a great period from an economic impact side to helping to fill some of the areas and bring an additional event. So 3rd year running, fourth year over the same weekend next year. Prior to and for some venues following Thanksgiving, every single one of our venues are open for the winter season. Mount Van Hovenberg opened for Nordic ahead of Thanksgiving with over 2 kilometers of trails available. That was primarily for season pass holders. After Thanksgiving on the 29th, they opened for the general public as well. The Olympic Oval opened on November 28th. The Mount Van Hovenberg Sliding Complex opened on December 4th. Whiteface Mountain opened on November 15th, and all mountains welcome season pass holders on November 21st. Just an update, because obviously we have a tremendous winter at the moment, and all of the teams at the mountains have done an incredible job from a snowmaking standpoint. But right now, Bel Air is on track to open tomorrow with 100% of their snowmaking trails ahead of the Christmas holiday. So it's been an excellent start to the season for us. Many of the venues opened with new capital projects that have been completed. So at Gore Mountain, we opened the Top Ridge Lift on December 5th. And Whiteface Mountain, Little Whiteface, from the base to the mid-terminal was replaced with towers and chairs, and that's set to open next week. Gore Mountain and the North Creek Ski Bowl Lodge is nearing its completion. We hosted a community event on October 29th, which is the bottom left-hand photo here. This was an open house for the community to come in ahead of it being officially opened and actually even furnished and decorated to let the community see what the building was going to look like and start to garner some excitement around the project. I do want to highlight that during this event, we announced our partnership with Kelsey O'Driscoll, who is a ski patrol at Gore Mountain, has been for quite a while. She, a few years ago, suffered a sledding injury and lost the use of her legs. She just qualified. She has since returned as a ski patroller to Gore Mountain and qualified this year to be on the U.S. Paralympic ski team. And this morning won her first Super G race. And so she is on target to qualify for the 2026 Paralympics. So
Awesome.
She was there in attendance, spoke a little bit about her time at Gore Mountain and as a ski patroller, and is just an amazing person. So we'll continue to follow her journey.
Right.
Discovery Lodge at Bel Air opened on opening day with all of its spaces. So this project saw over 6,000 square feet of additional space being added to the lodge. The biggest noticeable difference as you walk up to the building is the main entrance. Before, it was a large exterior fabric tent that housed the rental shop. All of that is now interior within the building. So the rental shop, the ski tuning areas, and additional guest space and food service space. So it's all fully open and functional. You'll see this is the new marketplace on the bottom. We'll talk a little bit about some of our technology upgrades in a moment, but it's furnished with all the new technology upgrades, a better flow, and better service for our increased guests down at Bel Air. With all of the additional capital projects that we've also seen, a tremendous response from our season pass side. As of today, we are at over 30,000 season passes sold across the 3 mountains. This is a 6% growth over last year. We are seeing that outside of the capital projects, also the introduction of some of our new partner projects, so Mountain Collective and Snow Triple Play, have added to our season pass holder value and also the attractiveness of what we can offer.
Is that roughly the 3 mountains are all up, or is it, what's the?
They're all up. They have varying. Bel Air has had the most amount of growth over the past years. Bel Air and Gore are about even for the number of passes sold. And a lot of their numbers are much higher with their drive distance and geographic locations. But yes, we're up across all the mountains, yeah. And Van Hovenberg as well. In order to accommodate the increase in guests that we have, we're not only adding additional spaces, but we're also focused on a better guest experience. So decreasing the amount of time it takes, for example, to check out. We've also implemented a reduced cash policy at the mountains to help expedite our skiers through the checkout process. So if you go to any of the venues, not just the mountains, you will see our new self-checkouts. It's called a MASH Gin, and it's fully automated. You put your items, you don't have to take off your gloves. You can pile everything on the tray, put it under the scanner, tap your card, and in about 10 seconds, be through the checkout line. So this has really helped to also support being able to, not just during the busy times, but some flexibility with our staffing to better support our food services.
Sorry, Ashley, have you reduced the number of staff based on that technology? You're going to let it go a year and see what happens?
So this is part of the Sodexo contract that we'll discuss in a little bit. Okay. So the idea is to ensure that we can move the guests through faster, limit the amount of reliance on staff, particularly in those busy times, and then also have the flexibility to shift them to other areas where necessary. So it still needs to be staffed, but where there's 8 checkouts now at Whiteface, you have 1 person manning it versus 8 separate individuals. So it helps to minimize our reliance on staffing and also, increase the guest experience. Okay. Outside of the mountains, Mount Van Hovenberg also saw quite a bit of modernization projects that are underway and some portions that are already complete throughout the spring and the summer. I guess the biggest of them is the track refrigeration project that you're seeing here. This took the existing 1978 plant, fully moved it on to the town easement. It was split between town and state land. So shifted the building, put complete new system in, and also added an additional zone, which allows the track to operate more efficiently and offer more consistent ice, and will allow us to open earlier and stay open later at a more efficient operation as well. The new system no longer requires 24-hour monitoring with staff on site. It can be monitored remotely and controlled remotely. So also helping us from a staff operations and efficiency. In addition to the refrigeration plant, we had new lighting installed throughout the venue. You can see on the right-hand side, the lighting is also, it can be broadcast level. It also can be dimmed to minimize any light pollution. So when our track crew is working throughout the evening hours, the new roofing systems also help to contain the lighting, but we can dim it and zone it based upon where we need or do not need light during that time. We can also light it to different, if we want to celebrate different things, we can light it to different colors and variations as well. The new roofing systems will also help with the track efficiency and the refrigeration. So you see the new roof coverings. They will have a shading system that helps cover the surface. So when a competition is not going on, we can minimize the amount of weather impact on the ice surface to keep it more consistent for athletes that are training. lot of the work that was done, or a lot of work done at Mount Van Hovenberg around the constitutional amendment, and quite a bit of support from the entire board on this. The bill that was passed amends the Forever Wild clause of Article 14 and addresses the non-conforming developments and establishes parameters for future developments on the intensive use. It's important to note that this really impacted the parking lots, the biathlon area, and some of the trails. So the blue box within that photo is the sliding center, and it did not impact that. That was town easement land. It also will reclassify approximately 200 acres of the intensive use land to wilderness, and commits 2,500 of new acres to be added to the forest preserve. So again, parking lots, biathlon ranges, and a large amount of the trail network. Joe, do you want to add anything?
Just a small clarification, the reclassification process is yet to happen and has to go to the Adirondack Park Agency for approval. So that's something that was talked about and negotiated amongst a whole variety of stakeholders, but there was another state process outside of ORDA to reclassify those 200 acres.
Thank you. There was quite a bit of PR coverage on the constitutional amendment prior to the passing. In addition to the constitutional amendment, we had a number of articles and communications over the past 3 months, about 1,500 editorial mentions, which is up 24% from this time last year. Many of the highlights were on the mountain openings, Skate America, and UCI were the 3 main topics. And in addition to the editorials and the external media coverage that we receive, our communications team does an excellent job at also telling our story. So these are all articles that our team has put together talking about athletes that are training here, staff, programs that we're running, just daily operations, really letting people know about the wide array of offerings that we have and a lot of the very special things that we do on a daily basis. Good Morning America was recently here. They were here December 8th to 9th. Both Lara Spencer and James Longman were here for these 2 days, and they participated in a number of different events. They broadcast live from just outside of the Mirror Lake Inn on the morning when it was -21. So they got a real taste for winter. They were able to try luge, bobsled, skeleton, figure skating, ski jumping, and alpine skiing across the 2 days. So they broadcast live here, and then they're putting together features that are going to air during the Olympics in February. So more to come on that coverage, but quite a fun couple of days with Good Morning America, and expect there to be some good coverage. And I do not know that Lara Spencer will be back to do many of these events, but here's a list of the major events that are going to continue throughout the year, right over even into next fall. There's a few on here that we want to highlight as they are all leading up to the Olympics in Milano Cortina in 2026. Of the events that we are hosting, 4 of them are Olympic qualifying events. So starting next week with the Luge World Cup, for many athletes, this is their path to qualifying for the Olympics, and not just U.S. athletes, international athletes utilize these events for Olympic qualifications. So we have, in addition to the Luge World Cup, we have a Aerials World Cup, we have cross country nationals, and a North American Cup for bobsled and skeleton. All of those are used for athletes to collect points and rankings in order to qualify for the Olympics. So pretty exciting, and quite a bit of athletes that we're going to be watching here in February that are crossing through our venues. You know what? I do want to go, sorry.
Okay, so great report. I just want to start the acknowledgement of all the unbelievable work that went into all of these events, the lead up to the event, from the legal side, the communication side, the operation side. Obviously, many of the events I attended and I thought they were exceptional, and the attendance has been off the charts. And we've obviously had enormous cooperation from Mother Nature, but every one of these events are really, it's a big deal to put them on, and it's a bigger deal to put them on so they're wildly successful, which they have been. So I just want to express my appreciation to staff for all the work, for all the stuff that you just saw. It's a lot, you know, it's very sort of glossy and, you know, when you show the highlights, but it's the work leading up to it, which I know was monumental. So my thanks to all the staff, and hopefully this gets transmitted to all the staff, everybody that was a part of this, because they did a great job. And I welcome other comments.
Yeah. I would like to specifically point out, we made a major investment in the, I don't know the right term, in the hockey rink, figure skating arena, where it shows the score of the game and it allows the advertising to change. I think that's been a tremendous improvement to the Olympic Center. And I think that when you're hosting world events, if you don't have that kind of product, you look behind the world. And I'm just proud that our organization is leading that charge with being modern and showing that, you know, not only the NFL has it in the stadiums, but we have it in our stadium. And it's a big difference. And when you have an event like Skate America that has athletes from around the world, that's just tremendous market. There's Italian teams that were here skating that I'm sure they're going, wow, we better have our rinks, because I know they're struggling and getting their rinks ready. I think I'm just going to talk about it. We definitely needed to do some improvement on our getting ready for World Cup mountain biking and getting organizational changes with working with DEC. But I want to say that after that event was done, some environmental group leaders came to me and commented, well, you know, did ORDA live up to their obligation to improve the venue by bringing it back? Like, were there huge mounds in the middle of the trails? And I made a point to go to Whiteface soon after those events to see all the work that the staff had done to bring those venues back to environmentally healthy, safe. And then you can see that our snowmaking capabilities have improved tremendously. It's just unbelievable to see the amount of snow that's being produced at Gore, Bel Air, and Whiteface, where and I give a shout out to Mike, because he was very adamant about these new high efficiency guns, and there was a lot of skepticism, especially from the ski racing world, that they wouldn't be able to make enough snow as fast as the old inefficient guns. But it's proven to be incredible. And when you see top to bottom skiing at Whiteface our second week, we've never had it. And it's really phenomenal. And you know, you made the comment about Bel Air. Today they're at 89% open, and tomorrow they're going for 100. I mean, on snowmaking trails, and they're our most southern ski area. It's just, I'm singing the praises because we don't often get to do that. So, congratulations, and to the ORDA team and workers and staff members. It's just incredible what you're doing. Thank you.
Other comments?
Yes. Am I on or not?
Yep, you're on.
Oh, I just wanted to comment that as you look through all the programs that Ashley was going over, you think there aren't a lot of quiet months in Lake Placid anymore. There really are so many activities that they ban almost the entire year. So hats off to everything that's been done to improve on that.
Thanks, Betty. Okay, if there's no further comments, we are going to move on to new business, since there's not any old business on the agenda. We have 7 proposed resolutions. Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 572, a resolution approving and adopting the Olympic Authority's 2026-27 budget and 2025 through 2030 financial plan?
So moved, Art.
I'll second. Go. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I should have asked if there was any discussion. Any discussion on the plan? It's the same plan, but before I lead to the discussion, I need to point out that on page 9 of the financial plan, there was a typographical error in the last paragraph of that page in the version that was approved in the executive committee meeting and that has been made available for public review. There was a sentence that read, "The last 8 years of the Olympic Authority's total insured values are listed below, representing a 243% increase during that period." The correct correct insured values increase is 143%, not 243%. This correction has been made in the financial plan that was included in the materials provided with today's meeting, and that is currently before the board for final approval and submission to the comptroller. So does anybody have any questions or any further discussion regarding the resolution? We had a motion, and I think we seconded it, so I will take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 573, resolution committing operating funds and granting approval for the president and CEO to enter into an agreement for the purchase of Olympic Authority uniform apparel?
Billy.
Moved by Billy,
Second.
seconded by Jen. Any questions, or would anyone like any further
Yes.
discussion?
I just would like to have Ashley share how we came upon this particular product.
Sure. So we did a complete RFP process, and Tate Wardlaw, our VP of Marketing Comms and Partnerships, led the process. So we had a competitive RFP process that was put out that identifies all of the needs from a product standpoint that support our staff. And this is, staff that work inside, outside. We have snowmakers that are in extreme temperatures, track crew that are, working with water and sub-below temperatures as well. So a varying array of needs. From there, the team went through a series of interviews, product reviews, had a very detailed score sheet that also included opportunities for companies to propose sponsorship in exchange for value in kind. So at the end of the process, I believe there was 6 competitive companies, and all of them were scored based on pricing, quality, selection, variations, and any partnership opportunities. And out of that, Mammut was the leader. There is sponsorship that is part of this product, and they were able to meet all of the needs from a product standpoint. They also provide warranties, so if there are defects or if there are also issues with the products, we can turn them back in for new products. So
Thank you. And RFP, request for
a
proposals.
request for proposals that was publicly posted for any companies to bid on.
Thank you.
And this is a 3-year contract.
This is a 3-year contract. The initial year will be the largest amount as we switch over to that uniforming, and then incremental supplementing either additional turnover that's needed or for additional staff or products that need to be replaced.
Any other questions?
I have one question, and maybe I misunderstood it, but is this new that we're doing a 3-year contract like this? It sounded like it was something we hadn't exactly done before, or...
So our previous contract was a 5-year contract. It was executed in 2021, had similar terms as far as an initial purchase, and then after that initial year, over the past 4 years, we have incrementally added, on a need-based to supplement those products. So we're coming off of a 5-year term and entering into a 3-year term with a different company.
Okay, but it seems like it has a lot more to it, right?
I think, from 5 years ago to now, the prices have obviously increased. The products that are being offered, so different outerwear and the obviously vests, other items for the staff remains consistent. We're ensuring that that the staff needs are met, and also holding representation, right, so that they have proper identification as an ORDA employee while they're working. So that those products remain the same, that the pricing has increased from the initial contract in 2021.
And you have some sponsorship money too that's helping, so
That's correct, yeah.
good.
Who was the old company with, or the contract?
Department.
So do we have to, because of the sponsorship, get rid of all the old uniforms, or can they continue to wear any uniforms they had?
There is a turnover period. Tate, I'll let you answer that. But
Thank you. So, the Mammoth partnership, in other words, our commitment to, their brand being our organization's uniform brand begins in, fall of 26 for the 26-27 season. And so that's when, as Ashley referenced, that's when you'll see the biggest commitment to, re-uniforming, the majority of the staff. So.
I'm sorry, I stated, fall of 2026. 26. Got it. Other questions?
I think I'd follow up on Betty's question. The old uniforms, what do we do? Do we send them to the needy? Do we send them to get repurposed? Do we know?
Staff get to keep them?
So we have a disposition plan, depending on the value of them and depending on the value, is it lump sum together or by individual piece that we would apply the disposition policy to it?
We have a bunch of different options.
Okay.
See what we have, what's usable. We're not gonna dispose of rags, and then find a suitable place where they can be reused. One of the issues that we have to be careful of is the ORDA logo. So we have to be careful with that. I know in the past, we've actually shipped them overseas because there's no issue with the logo. So all those things have to be taken into consideration when we dispose of them.
So the staff hands that all back in?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the year, they're assigned a jacket or a uniform.
Yeah.
They're recollected. At the end of the year,
Oh, they're recollected. It's
they're
not-
cleaned and then they're issued back.
That's standard for all Olympic Authority uniforms. It's given to you. You have to turn it in when you leave.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. I'm sorry, I'm getting on a plane. Is there going to be different sizing for men and women?
Yes, both men's and women's styles, so that different sizing and different styles within the same piece.
Okay, because in
Did
the
you hear that,
past,
Eleanor?
yes, I did. Because in the past, there's never been different sizing for men and women. It's always been unisex sizing, so it's great to hear that there are different styles and different sizing for men and women. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Eleanor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 574, a resolution committing capital and operating funds and granting approval for the president and CEO to enter into a professional services agreement for website development?
Move it.
Moved by Jen,
Second, Joe.
second by Joe. Any questions or would you like further discussion regarding this resolution?
Sure. Can you just tell us a little bit about what's going on?
So this also went through a request for proposals process. Ultimately, it came down to two lead contenders. They were reviewed based on their ability to meet our diverse array of websites that we currently contain, while also being able to have a consistent platform and messaging across them. One of the other things that we struggle with is a collaborative calendar. And so that was one of the main pieces. We are trying to ensure that our guests from the second that they land on our website have an easy path to any of the information they need and an easy path to purchase. This will help us to update all of the websites to get them to have their unique identities, but also maintaining a consistent framework, making it easier to navigate, easier to make changes to so that our staff can do it as well and give it a more modernized look. And then the other piece of it is just will be the ongoing support should we have any issues with the new sites.
Does this, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask when the last time we had a major overhaul of the website?
Tate?
I believe the last major overhaul of the website was in 2019.
And this is a different vendor this time than current vendor? Okay. Question from, was it
Gigi.
Gigi?
Yeah, it was me. Yeah, I was just going to ask if this came with new branding, or is it just the operational side of the website and sort of making it feel and work better for folks?
So it will have a completely different look. Our ORDA branding, so our logos, our colors for each of the venues will stay the same and will be applied to the websites, but it will have a very different look and feel when you land on the website.
Okay. It's just that Bel Air's, for me personally, feels very corporate and very dated. So I was hoping it'd have a little bit of love during this process, but I wasn't sure if that was part of the overall mission of this.
Yeah, it will have a much different look when you arrive at the website. You know, the colors and the Bel Air logo will stay the same, but the way that it is laid out, you know, it'll be so that, you know, videos can be instantly playing, that there's a lot more information and just much more appealing when you land on the site.
Okay.
Thank you. Others, any questions?
For the ticketing, for the purchase, is each venue, for lack of a better word, have its own shopping cart? Or could you know, is the look and feel, whether you're purchasing tickets to the bobsled run or the rink or the mountain, going to feel the same? Or is it going to all be totally different?
So that piece is tied to our purchasing software and not to the website. We are entering into an RFP for that will take place over the next year. So the moment that ticketing, it might look a little bit different, but the functionality will remain the same while we try and address the ability to be able to purchase multiple things from different sites at once.
So it's like a chicken egg situation a little bit. You got to do the website first and then fix the ticketing after.
We could have done them in reverse, but the way our contracts are built, this one is up before the other, but the RFPs and the selections have been done so that we ensure that we'll be able to achieve what we want from the ticketing purchasing side and also a look side. Anything else you want to add, Tate?
We're on the cusp of a new era in how we interact with technology and businesses, and in the case of ORDA, our consumers or audiences, and so, you know, in a year for all of us, the way we shop or the way we you know, we learn about things online will be radically different. And so this initiative and the tech stack initiative that Ashley just referred to are spec'd to be able to be very effective within a new world. So when you talk about things like e-commerce or, you know, the purchase process, what we have now is, with all due respect to, you know, everybody involved, fairly antiquated. And so we're not looking to catch up. We're looking to make sure that by the time all of these pieces are implemented, they are where the, you know, the market stands in years to come. So we're preparing for that, if that answers, if that offers more insight. So there won't just be a page that'll be served up by one platform. We will have the ability to serve up experiences through our website and devices, and we'll have the ability to sell against those experiences without feeling like it's a sale, as opposed to continuation of a conversation, so that you won't have to leave a video or a page and go to a store. You'll essentially be able to engage, and if you're a guest, engage, think it's interesting, purchase as part of a bigger visit, a bigger plan, a bigger trip, and move forward much more seamlessly than you can today.
It's nice to see that forward planning. It's important.
Other questions?
I have one quick one. With this website development, is there any consideration of like an intranet for whether it's all the ORDA staffers or just based on my personal experience, any of the community members where they can get information, because this is probably the second time I heard that Bel Air trails are open 100% tomorrow, which is fantastic. But it'd be great to have gotten that word out somehow to all the other hotel folks who can then use their marketing abilities to advertise the mountains. So I didn't know if there was anything that could be worked in, whether it's a newsletter or whether it's just a place where people have to have logins and they can just quickly check to see, the new upcoming things. I don't know. I'm daydreaming and I'm just throwing it out there. So probably don't have an answer for this, but I think there has to be some thought about communicating, not just to guests, but also to other constituencies in terms of staff and in terms of community members who rely on each of these mountains for economic development.
Well, and partners to help you get the word out as well.
It's a really great point, and it's not wishful thinking or just daydreaming. It's an important part of where the world is going and our obligation to our communities. And so rest assured that the idea of generating a PDF that we're then sending out versus via email or something like that is sort of, the approach that worked well a few years ago. And as we complete the diligence and scoping and architecture phase of the new website, that'll include automated ways to reach out to things like communities, staff, and lodging partners.
And also be great to send out assets, because if someone sent, me as a hotel person, an asset, I would immediately put that on my Instagram and send it out, and it'd be great. So just making things easy for folks. If we're going into this big website development, it might be a time to think about whether that can be folded into this whole project.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Are we ready for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I have a motion to adopt Resolution 575, resolution committing capital and authorizing the president and CEO to enter into an agreement for a new dasher board system for the USA Rink. And Ashley, would you please explain what a dasher board is?
Dasher board is I'll call it the protection or the barrier between the ice and the non-ice surface of the rink. The dasher board is not just the white piece that runs along the bottom. It also supports the glass that protects the hockey athletes and can be removed for figure skating. So it's everything from the ice to the top of the glass. So the metal structures that are holding the glass are welded into the bottom of the dasher board. The current dasher boards that we have in the USA Rink are 24 years old. And so we have replaced them in the 80 rink and in the 32 rink, which is why they have a much more modern look. And this is the same company, so we're able to interchange the pieces, have spare parts that could service all three of the rinks.
Excellent.
Fascinating that that company is pretty much a monopoly. They have no competition.
It's a new visible starter.
What's the process of getting rid of the old boards?
So same, it will go through a disposition process, and based on the value, we'll see how, if it's over $5,000, it's a different process than if it's under. There certainly is still value to other rinks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's a lot of, communities that are putting up rinks around here that would actually like those. So
We will try to find it a good home.
We have already been contacted for some interest in it. We'll go through the process to ensure it's fair, but they will second life after this.
Good question.
Why wouldn't we consider just replacing the plastic and keeping the structure?
So a lot of the structure and the welds on the back have let go and need significant repair. Also, it's become quite a bit of work for the teams to replace them. So we're spending a lot of staff time on either repairing them or changing them out. So we want to cut down on the amount of time that the staff is spending on it, give it a new refresher look, and have the compatible parts across all three.
That part's huge. I mean, having the same thing for all three rinks instead of, just the storage of different, glass and metal structures and whatever for just that we had. So
Do you have a figure for the new dasher system?
The cost, the total cost is in the resolution. I don't want to misstate it.
I don't know. I don't think it was.
Okay, I didn't see it, but it doesn't mean it wasn't.
It is, I think.
I'm sorry, hang on, Bill, because I do want to answer.
Resolution.
It's in the resolution.
What number is it?
So I want to give you the exact amount.
What is it?
50. Where's that?
Or something. Or 36, 136.
Okay, yeah.
Motion on this yet? Okay, could I have a motion for resolution 575?
Billy.
By Billy,
Second.
seconded by Jen. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Bill Beebe abstains. Okay. Motion carries with one abstention, excuse me. I'm losing my voice. May I have a motion to adopt resolution 575, resolution granting approval for the president and CEO to enter into a renewal and amendment of the food and beverage concession license agreement with Service America Corporation, also known as Sodexo Live.
I just want to point out that it's 576.
576. Sorry about that. Somebody like to move the motion? I'll move it. I have a second. Second by Bill. Ashley, why don't you give us some background on it? Great.
So Sodexo is our current concessionaire, and we are looking to extend the contract under different terms. So we did renegotiate. There's 2 years left of the contract. We are renegotiating for an additional 5 years, so 7 years from this date moving forward on the contract. The previous contract included 2 different elements. One where the Olympic Center and Mount Van Hoevenberg were on a management agreement, and the rest of the venues were on a commission. The commission at the other venues was also fluctuated by the time of year. So what this does is it not only increases our commission to a higher level than it was before, but it keeps it consistent throughout the entire year, and it covers all of the venues. It does away with the management agreement that was in place at the Olympic Center and Mount Van Hoevenberg. In addition, it adds increased commissions for major events. So any new major event that we bring in that has over 4,000 people would have an increased commission. And Sodexo is also committing $1.4 million in technology upgrades to better support the guest experience and efficiency of all the operations. And in addition, Sodexo will take over the points of sales, which has a positive financial impact for the Olympic Authority, and also is some work that will come off of our team's shoulders from maintenance and just routine, processing and handling with the points of sales. So multiple benefits coming to the Olympic Authority out of the new negotiation.
Who do we have any say in who they choose to be their products? Like their beer companies, their soda companies, obviously that's a big issue for us.
Yeah, and the short answer is yes. And we do also push for New York State-based products, and there's a number of executive orders that we follow that come about how many products, the percentage of products that have to come from New York State-based companies. So those get passed on to the concessionaire as well. We do have say, we also retain approval for hours of operation, menus, and pricing.
Just going on what Art said, if there's local, is there any flexibility in there for local products?
Yes, and generally where we get restricted from local products, we have
Sponsorships, probably.
not sponsorships, but ability to meet the quantity demands that we see.
Okay, because that's something that
We are,
my former life I would hear about.
If I can just add one thing, we do not tell them what alcohol to sell. We can't legally do
You
that.
can't legally? No?
If you were grading them over the last couple of years, A through D, what would you give them for a grade?
So I have to say it really varied by operation. And this will help us to get to a different level of consistency. There were some that I would give an A. There were some that I would give a C. You know, we've been working with them for a long time. They've got
That's why I asked.
chips. They're integrated into the venues. I feel that we have also, it's been about 18 months now, we've brought on somebody to manage the Sodexo contract because there was no point of contact from the ORDA side. It was being done by venue specifically, and so there was varying levels of services and quality, I would say. So we have hired somebody to be the main point of contact to ensure that they're meeting a consistent level of standard that we set out. But I couldn't give you one because it was really varying based on.
What would you give the rank?
What's that?
What would you give the rank?
The rank?
Sorry.
Yeah. It would have been on the lower end.
Contract.
They were on a management.
They were on the management contract. So the commission-based contract, if I'm understanding it correctly, really incentivizes them also to be open more often, to sell more product. Is that not
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
So can you just kind of dial back how it goes? So is there like a minimum amount of sale that they have to reach, or?
Nope. So it's a flat percentage across all venues, all times of year. So
That ORDA receives.
That ORDA receives.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that doesn't fluctuate. It used to fluctuate and reduce and decrease by half in the summer. It no longer does that. So it's a flat, and then for a big event that's new, it has to be something new, not something that we currently do. We get almost double the amount of commission for those events. So incentivizes us to bring in new events because we'll have a higher return on the food and beverage. With the management contract, we paid all of the expenses and either accepted the profits or the losses. So this really takes across all of the venues that commission, which also is incentivizing Sodexo to.
Yeah, because under
be
the
open
management
and-
contract, they had no incentive to be open or closed or whatever. So
It
under
was
the
the same for
commission-based
them.
contract, it hopefully will be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it, you know, we have to accept some responsibility that we need to manage it and meet the terms that are in the contract. The terms do allow for us to approve the hours of operation. You know, again, the menu, the pricing. So those are things that we need to be holding accountable to as well.
Which to your point is going to be different per venue at different times of the year, you know?
Yeah. And
It's
meet
good
those
to have a
needs.
person doing that.
Just one more question. Cheryl, you said by law, we can't
No,
tell them what alcohol to,
we're on the liquor license. So we cannot control what they,
like the brands of beer or?
But this will remove.
But I thought we were getting off the license.
working on that. With this structure, will give us the ability to get off the license.
And so
And
Oh, okay,
so that may change, but I'm going to have to look into that.
okay. Because I know there's legislation in for that.
So if we're off the license, maybe we could highly suggest to the vendor, meaning to Sodexo, saying, we really think you should use a local brewer.
Well, I think the concerns, well, I can use the word complaints now. The complaints that that local brewers didn't have a chance with like an Anheuser or whatever. Those were some of the concerns that I would hear in the past, and I know others have as well, that they, you know, you come to the Adirondacks, you go to the facilities, you'd like to have a local
Yeah,
beer.
local beer.
That's the only, so does this allow us the flexibility to do that more, or does?
It may, but one of the things that we'll definitely do that may help us in that regard, and Tate, you might want to kick me under the table from over there, but when we're on the liquor license, we can't be, under the law, we can't be in business in any way with an alcohol manufacturer or distributor.
Okay.
If we get off the license, then the ability for us to enter into arrangements with sponsors becomes much greater.
Okay,
So that may be an option for that. I don't know.
okay,
In terms of telling students what to stock, I've got to look into that.
just curious.
Well, this is a big part of the guest experience at each of these mountains, so I think we'll all be looking out for some improvement, because I feel like Bel Air was also on the lower end of that, close to the rink, in terms of food. So I'm excited to see a little motivation. And I'm also curious to understand the person you hired to sort of oversee, because they have to be, I think, familiar with food, familiar with pricing, familiar with contracts, and familiar with accounting. And you're confident that, now that they have their own POS systems, we're going to have to probably have a little more, reporting from them and making sure that everybody's on top and comfortable with what they report out. So I'm just hoping that person has all of those qualities, which sounds like a lot. So I hope they do.
Yeah, he's done a very good job so far. And for the point of sales, it's a good point, Gigi. Thanks for pointing it out. We have full transparency into the points of sales, and it will also integrate with our software that we utilize that tracks daily admission and sales, so we can see detailed reports, live status of what's being sold and at each of the venues.
All right, thanks. That makes me feel comfortable.
So I'm going to beat the horse deader, but
Are we talking about beer again?
no, not beer this time. I'm looking at soda products and wondering if we have a sponsorship ORDA, like our sponsor right now is water. And they don't have to buy our product. That's sponsoring ORDA right now, or ORDA's being sponsored by.
Sodexo does not?
Yeah.
We work with Sodexo on the sponsorship. I believe what Michelle's saying is limited to alcohol.
Yeah, and we have language in the contract about, if they're stocking one of our sponsors' products, adversely affects their pricing in some way, and I can't remember exactly what the language is, but we do have that provision in the contract with regard to sponsor products.
All right, I'll just come out and say it. Coke, I just can't imagine us as an Olympic authority not having Coke as our soda product. I just feel like it's an Olympic product, and I don't know why we switched, but obviously Polar must have given us an unbelievable deal, or Sodexo a great deal. But I just feel like with Billy's efforts and there's so much Olympic movement with Plan B at the Bob Run, and to not have that synergy of an Olympic sponsor as our main soda product, I think is important. And so that's why I've been dancing around the bush here, but now you know where I'm coming from.
Beat around the bush.
Around the bush.
Dance around the bush.
Dancing.
Yes.
And there's analogies.
So I don't know, anyone want
Is
to?
that a bid process? Like, I imagine it's a bid process.
Sponsors?
Yeah, no?
No.
Oh,
Sponsors are outside the procurement process. I can't speak to what happened, but,
So
from Coke.
Mike was unhappy with the delivery of sort of the Coke's responsibilities under the sponsorship. Honestly, that was the reason. Felt like we were too small of a entity. He thought Coke felt we were too small in whether any of that is, accurate. That's how Mike felt at the time. And I felt like that was the explanation I was given, several years ago when we switched sponsors. But your point's well taken, and I don't know how much longer we have with our current sponsors, and when the opportunity may present itself again. But I think at that time we should have a discussion about it.
Great.
Okay.
More than fair.
All right.
You dance around the bush then.
I want to see the dance.
I'll do anything.
into the bush.
Unless there's any other discussion, I would like to know who is in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 577, resolution committing capital and authorizing the president and CEO to enter into agreements for the snowmaking booster pump station project at Gore Mountain Ski Center?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Moved by
Second.
Betty, seconded by
Second,
Art.
Some info?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is a really fun project. So in the pictures that you see here in the top right-hand corner, that's the summit area of Gore. Right now, it has a mixed amount of high-efficiency snowmaking on it. These booster pumps will allow us, unfortunately, we can't get enough pressure to the top of the summit in order to effectively run the high-efficiency guns. So you see in the bottom right, we still rely on some of the lower efficiency equipment because we lack the pressure. So these are prefabricated high-pressure water systems that can be located within the existing space. So we don't have to create a new building in order for these to operate. It will allow us to open the summit terrain, which is very popular and also helps us to disperse the guests, particularly around the busy times. And it will allow us to open those utilizing 35% less time and 1/5 of the amount of water that it currently takes us to open that area. And we would be ordering the system now, and it would be installed and ready for next winter would be the ideal situation. And it will be located in what's known as the saddle area, which is about mid-mountain. So utilizes the infrastructure there, send more pressure to the top, be able to open it 35% sooner and with a much reduced amount of water.
And we have experience with this at other of our venues of booster pumps.
Booster pumps, yes. I'm trying to think of the areas that we've operated them, but yes. Yep.
So so we know the kind of brand or model that is effective and efficient.
Yeah.
Other questions? Comments?
It won't be until next winter, right?
Correct. It would be ordered now, installed over the summer, and ready for next winter.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 578, resolution committing capital and authorizing the president and CEO to enter into a facilities strategic plan agreement? I'll move it. Could I have a second?
Second.
Mhm.
Patty.
Seconded by Betty.
So
I'm
to
gonna
provide
let you go on this.
information. So we currently have $625 million in insured assets across the organization. So, and that it only includes assets that are valued at $150,000 and over. It's a huge amount of infrastructure that we have of varying vintages in varying states of current states, I'll say. So this strategic plan includes a full conditions assessment. So there will be a crew that
Did we lose the feed?
Yeah, I wasn't hearing anything.
I think we did.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, you came back.
Okay.
between maintenance. Seeing what, just in the past 2 years that I've been here, the amount of things that pop up that need to be fixed, I do really believe that this will allow us to reduce those things focus on a routine maintenance, protect the assets that we have, and in the end, save money.
Who would do this assessment?
It's a company called FEA, and they work with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. They have done the deferred maintenance plan on this building for the U.S. Olympic Committee, and have done some initial work with us on another much smaller project in the past. And they would also bring in a master plan. Marshall Craft is the company, and they're going to help us take a look at all of the events, the operations, everything that we do on a daily basis, and help us to plan for the future so that we ensure if we're looking at a major event or something down the road, that we're not making changes to our infrastructure or our venues or our land placements that would negatively impact our future goals. So aligning everything over the next 30 years to reach what might be an ultimate goal and help us to plan operationally and financially for it.
Ashley, just to dummy this down for me, would it also, and does it take steps to ensure that the facilities we have now will be the facilities we want them to be in
Yes.
15, 20 years from now?
It takes a look at where we want to be in
Yes.
years, 40 years, and ensures that everything that we're doing is helping us to get there and not, making
And maintain the facility, I mean, to
Extending-
keep them at the,
Yeah.
keep them at the standard they are.
extending the life, it will set a quality standard that we want to see across all the venues, help us to get there and then maintain that.
So conceptually, this idea is exactly what you should be doing. I would imagine this, I'm not a huge fan of consultants, although I see how you need maybe outside eyes to be looking at it from a 10,000-foot view. I would imagine that at each venue, you're going to need a lot of staff input, and not from just the head of that venue, but from, the guy who changes the dashboards and the person who does the maintenance. And so how are we going to ensure that they're talking to the right people?
So it's a great point. And there's also a workforce component to this. So because they will help us to put together a routine maintenance plan that also helps us to build the workforce to support that. But yes, the conditions assessment is the largest piece of this entire project. And they will be meeting with the snowmaking operators. They'll be meeting with the people in the garage, custodial, the boots on the ground that are making things function.
Because those are the people that know.
Those are the people that know, and
The
we
most
have
important people
a ton
to
of
talk to.
institutional knowledge.
Mhm.
We also need to get to a place where it's all documented and it can be handed over as guidebooks to the next people that come in. So there's a workforce plan that will align with the facilities plan.
Who else have they done this type of work for?
So they've done a lot. They've done a lot of work with states, not in New York State. Multiple states they've done large projects with. Some for, like, they did a DOT project for Tennessee. They've done an entire project for Wyoming. So they've done a lot of state work. They don't do a ton of private work.
Where are they based out of?
They are based out of Denver, and they have offices also in Florida.
I have a question. Okay, how do they charge us? I mean, what do they base their fees on? And is it like a monthly thing, or is it a per particular venue that they're looking at a time, or?
So it's project based. So for the facilities conditions, they have given an initial range. If they are to be green lighted to move forward, they will take that and break it down by venue to give a price of the conditions assessment for each of the venues. And that is based on a list of all of the infrastructure that we have. We started with the insured assets that we have listed on the books that they'll be coming to review. But it will be broken out by venue, and it will be project based hourly.
And they just give us a fee? Do we have a way of generating whether that's, correct or not, or how do we?
Say that again, Betty. I'm sorry.
Well, I can understand what you're saying, that they do it on a project by project, but do we have any idea what their range of fees would be? And whatever they tell us, that's what we go with.
First quarter.
So they've given us an initial range, which is, which led to the dollar amount in the resolution. The largest of that was the conditions assessment, which they gave us a range based upon they anticipate those costs to be. We would want to check and ensure that it aligns with industry standards. But essentially, if we don't, we could choose to do one venue over another if we're trying to hold to a budget. But we would evaluate that based upon need and priority.
Okay, because I guess the only figure I saw here was the value of our assets.
And then it says not to exceed $3 million
Correct.
over the life of the contract.
Okay,
Saw that, Betty?
all right, I
Did you
missed
hear
that. Yeah, I heard it now, but I guess I missed it in the thing, so.
They want to do all of this just in 26? It's only going to take a year?
So they would start the
fast, bunch of people at it.
they would do the conditions assessment when snow and winter weather is away, and then they would start to put everything together. I would say it would take 12 to 18 months to complete.
But they can't exceed $3 million in 1 year?
The life of the project is capped right now at 3 million.
Life of the project, okay. Okay, all right. Seems like a lot, but anyway. Okay, thank you.
Fix things as they break, and I think that goes to Ashley's point before, is that we have a lot of infrastructure that all of a sudden when something breaks, we find out how expensive it is to replace it. And the theory is, and I think it's more than a theory in practice, is that if you have a regular schedule of maintenance for facilities and are anticipating replacement, it's going to be far less costly in the long run than having to fix something after it's already broken. So, and obviously, they're going to identify a roadmap, if you will, of what we ought to be looking at, what we ought to replace and when, right down to some pretty small items, I guess. But then every year, we have a budget process, and we are going to have to make hard decisions about where we allocate the money, consistent with their findings, presuming we're happy with them. And what we'll know then is, I hope this is what we know at the end of the process, is that things that we defer, we are going to know that it's going to add to the cost later on for deferring them, but we'll know it and we can schedule it the following year. So for planning forward, we're going to be making difficult decisions. It doesn't mean that when they come up with their laundry list for every year, we're going to be able to do everything in that laundry list. That's what we have to figure out on an annual budget or an annual basis with our budget. So it's a bit of an imperfect process because we don't have unlimited resources, but knowing sort of the cost of what decisions we decide to defer versus others in the ORDA world makes for a better and more informed decision-making process.
And budgeting process.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and you're right. I mean, DOT comes up with a 5-year plan and, DEC or whatever, but it is incumbent, or it all depends on what you have it in there for that budget. But I believe knowing a plan of what you need for that particular year and that particular plan and seeing where the money can go. Because you're never promised an amount from 2 or 3 or 4 years out. So I think having a plan
It will certainly help us make the argument for budgets every year.
Yeah.
Because we'll have better information to base it on. How much we get of that is obviously a statewide decision where, the executive branch has to figure out, world of priorities, which ones it's going to fund in any given year. And we've been very fortunate at ORDA to be on the receiving end of, a legislature and a governor that believes in our facilities, but that doesn't mean our budgets are ever going to be unlimited and that we're going to be able to do all the things that we need to do. But hopefully this is going to be super helpful in the decision-making process year to year and in the budgeting process. So I think it's worth the investment, even though the numbers, when I originally looked at them, looked, surprisingly large. This is an expensive endeavor, but again, I think in the long run, it should save us money and the state of New York money.
Yeah, and it's a nice tool to have, to tell people what you need. It's evidence, right? You're not just, saying, hey, we need this every year. It's
just
evidence.
relying on
This
your-
is what we need.
Not just relying on venue managers telling you.
Right.
And hopefully prevent like ski jumps. Correct. We don't know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Bill? You look like you were.
Yeah, hey, can they really give us that much more information that we can't get from the venue managers? If the environment that they're working in is created where they're always on the lookout for it, and we have people that are driving those decisions in the direction of not only short-term but long-term management. I just don't know how insightful they're going to be with our unique facilities. And $3 million can buy an awful lot. And it sounds wonderful. I can't be convinced of it unless I could really see it in front of me, what they've done, and how it's had an impact.
And Bill, I would say too that, that's kind of what I was getting at too. Like nobody knows our venues better than the people at our venues. But, managing the day-to-day of a venue and being able to take that information and take a step back and look at it in conjunction with all of the other venues and put a plan together, that's the piece that I think our people are missing because they're too busy running all of these events back to back to back to back, which is what they need to do. So that knowledge, I think, listen, I also agree that's a lot of money to give to consultants who, half the time tell you stuff you already know. But I think compiling it the way that Ashley and Joe will need to go to the state, I don't think that that's something that our people necessarily have just the bandwidth for. I'm sure we could find, there's a lot of really smart people that work there. I'm sure we could find people that could do it, but I don't know that they have the bandwidth because they're too busy running the venues.
I completely agree with you. I was about to say the same comment that it feels like it's a lot of money, but to expect the folks that are running the venue to also be able to take a big, long look, which is what we're asking in conjunction, it's going to be impossible. And I'm not sure if this is the only solution or if we think this is so important, there's a hire versus a consultant, but I'm going to leave it to Ashley and Joe to make that decision. But it is something that there will have to be another person or group of people to do. It will not be able to live within the venues because they get pulled 8 million ways. We all know that once you're in that day to day.
And we do from a venue standpoint, we have a Office of Planning and Construction, and we've tried to structure the venues with more consistency. There is not a full facilities and maintenance team at each of the venues. The general managers are tasked with the operational oversight of the venues. They often wear multiple hats, but really what we're looking to our general managers to do is to, keep the venue open, functional, welcoming guests at the standard that we have set for them. From a maintenance standpoint, and it varies by venue, we struggle like many organizations, particularly those in the remote regions that we operate in, with skilled labor, electricians, mechanics, regular just building maintenance and facilities are the jobs that we constantly struggle to fill. outside of that, we need to put together an overall maintenance plan for each of the venues and each of the pieces of infrastructure, whether it be compressors, pumps, refrigeration plants, for all of the vehicles that we have. It's something that we've wrestled with. I've tried to do it individually with some of the teams. We started at Van Hovenberg just on an asset collection. It's a monster. And we haven't been able to get our arms around it. And the more time we take to do it, the more money we're going to spend on fixing the things that break because we haven't had time to get our arms around it. With a number of new assets coming online, Discovery Lodge, North Creek Ski Bowl, some of the upgrades in the snowmaking infrastructure, the refrigeration plant, now's the perfect time because those are new things. We can start initially with maintenance programs to ensure that we're protecting them. The other piece of it too is that if we don't maintain our assets correctly, we're going to wear them down faster, which means that we have to replace them faster. And that has a huge capital cost. So rather than being able to consistently maintain and extend the life of them, we're going to see a lot of these ebbs and flows of major capital infusions, which drop off because they're not being maintained to it. So it is expensive. I wouldn't bring it forward if I didn't really believe that it will help us to get organized from a maintenance standpoint and also protect what we have so that we have 45-year-old buildings that we're still operating at a World Cup level, which is remarkable. We want to continue to do that. And I think we can do it more effectively and more fiscally responsible if we invest now in a program to take us through the next 30 years. So I completely understand your concerns and your questions, Bill, and don't. It can also supply additional information too on the work that they've done and what it will actually look like when it's complete.
That'd be great.
Just another question. I don't question the need to work on the facilities and having better plans. I just wonder if we could get more specifics from them on how they're going about doing this and what they're going to be charging us or what basis they're charging us on. And
So-
maybe it doesn't matter, but.
Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, but $2 of the $3 million, roughly speaking, is for the facility evaluations. So this is
The facility strategic plan that will come out of it, yeah.
yeah, and the plan that will come out of it. But these are mainly engineers that once the snow is gone, are going to go around to all of our facilities. In the meantime, they're going to be talking to stakeholders, staff, you name it, board members, and then they're going to hit the ground. Yes, talk to board members. I've already met with them once just to be introduced to the team, to get familiar with how they've approached other projects. But the $2 million is based on their assessment of how many facilities we have. They've seen the list, they know the buildings, they know what they're up against. So I think, there's no more magic to the budget than this is what they think it's going to cost to provide the evaluation and plan based on all of the infrastructure we have at ORDA. So it's a $3 million project, $2 million of which is really a facility evaluation.
Which they would only have to do once a year or once in a while or once every few years, or do they have to do that $2 million evaluation every year?
No, it's a one-time project where they evaluate the facilities and tell us what we are going to need to replace, to repair on a regular basis in each one of those facilities. So it's, a glorified maintenance plan for a long period of time. It's going to tell us how many hours we have on a compressor and what the useful life of that compressor is. So how often do you have to do maintenance? At what time period are you going to have to replace it? And they're going to do that for all of the stuff that, for lack of a better term, that ORDA has and operates.
Okay, and they don't have to do this every year.
No, No, this is a one-time exercise that is going to hopefully be a Bible for us in terms of our operation going forward, a maintenance and strategic plan, so we know, it's in part, it is a look forward to everything that we anticipate doing, including the possibility of having additional events at Whiteface, which may be one of the more challenging places in terms of future events. So we don't want to make a mistake and do something at Whiteface that would impair our ability for an anticipated future event. So it's a combination of planning and maintenance plan.
Okay.
Ashley, you should
Seems like we're spending a lot
correct
of
me if I'm wrong.
No, you're exactly right.
And as new things come online, we'll be able to work them into this maintenance plan. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yep.
And there will be a standard amount of information that we will get as new things come online that gets added to it, and then the plan to maintain them and then replace them over the life of whatever it is. And some things that we have a 5-10 year life, some have a 40-80 year life, so it will just depend.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Art?
thank you.
I struggle with consultants. I'm totally in Bill's camp here. I'll give you a specific example. 2 years ago, I was adamant that Whiteface needed a reservoir for $10 million. And people today will keep telling me that in order to be weatherproof and to be able to handle climate change, we got to have a reservoir. So the consultant comes back with a study and says, yep, you got to have a reservoir. I don't know. I don't know how to believe what their results are going to enable us, because I feel like Ashley is chosen a team, and I agree. You can't ask a venue manager at Bel Air or Gore or Whiteface between November and April to do planning. But I don't think it's unreasonable if you have faith in those managers to be able to do planning from May to October. And so I'm not sold on this, and I'm not going to support it.
I work upstairs in the Office of Environmental Planning and Construction. One thing that the organization is lacking is, we know what we have. We just spent, $100 million a year for a bunch of different years. Contractors get done, they hand you a stack of volumes of binders this big and say, here's what you need to do. That stuff is sitting on a shelf.
Yep.
There's people there who aren't, and we don't have run-of-the-mill systems. Everything we have is very specialized. Part of this, what we're doing here, is to categorize everything we have so that we can in one place and put it in an asset management system and know what we have and what has to be done. To realistically expect the people who run the venues on a day-to-day basis, they don't have the expertise. They don't have the knowledge. They couldn't tell you the first thing other than what they did yesterday and what they're supposed to do tomorrow. And a lot of that is driven by what broke last week and what has to be done tomorrow. If we don't get a handle on our assets, so we, number one, know what we have to do and know what we have and what we have to do going forward, there's no way that we have the ability with the staff that we have to properly maintain our assets. Things will start to break. That's the reality of the situation. I talk to the director of OEPC on a daily basis. I've been here coming up on 5 years. We've been talking about this for 5 years. We need to get a handle on what assets we have and what needs to be done to maintain them, and to have some direction that instead of, we fixed this over here, now we're going to fix this over here. What's the overall game plan? What's the vision? What do we need to fix here that won't upset here? Or we want to do an event in 5 years. Well, if we're doing an event, maybe we'll put money here as compared to here. That needs to be done organization-wide, and we do not have the bandwidth or the manpower or the expertise to do it internally. That's what
That's,
my two cents.
I think you make a good point, and I agree with Art and Bill and Betty, I guess. I've dealt with consultants my whole life or my whole career, and it's true. Every organization you go into, first thing is hire a consultant, get a plan, do this, and it sits on a shelf. With that being said, and there are stacks in organizations and municipalities, everything, there are stacks of plans with dust on them. But with that being said, I think it's how you utilize it. And if this is utilized correctly, and it is a lot of money, I agree with Betty on that. I mean, but I guess it's all in the way that we utilize it. And I struggle with the consultants as well, even though I have a good friend that's a consultant. But it's true. If it's a plan that's going to sit on a shelf that's never going to be implemented or utilized, that's something else. But if this is going to be an active working plan that we are going to utilize, that we need, that we have to have, I still struggle with the money aspect of it. But I mean, I understand all their apprehension, their concerns with it, and I have those as well. But I think it's how we can implement it and utilize it.
So just one quick response. I mean, you either build the capacity in-house or you hire a consultant.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're in a position to hire the in-house capacity to get this job done. I don't think that will ever happen. I think what happened to ORDA's facilities after the 1980 Olympics.
That's what I keep going back to.
Deteriorated over time to a state that we do not want to replicate. States made a $600 million investment in these facilities. We want it to last, those facilities to last as long as possible, know what we need to replace and when. So again, I think you either do it in-house or you have to hire a consultant. We're not asking the consultant to, we're not directing them, we're not telling them, we need a reservoir up here, tell us how to do it. We're saying, evaluate our facilities, talk to our managers, and tell us what you think about our capacity to do what we intend to do for the next, again, I have a hard time with a 30-year plan, but if they can do that for 5 or 10 years, I'll be satisfied.
Sounds like there's concerns over the budget. Did we solicit proposals from other consultants so we could compare the value?
No, this was a single
source.
So
No, it wasn't. They're on an RFQ list. So this is through the RFQ process where we have a.
That's for qualifications.
That's for qualifications, which involves putting out a bid-like looking document, but asking for people's qualifications. And then we maintain a list of the people that do qualify. And then when we award projects, we go through, sometimes it's a mini bid process. Sometimes it's like this with somebody who's got such special qualifications. So it's a bit like a single source, but and we issue a work authorization form. And so they were on a standing master agreement with us.
And they're architects and engineers, to be clear. They're, we do work with consultants. The work that we're looking at is much different than the work that we've seen with consultants. There's a master planning piece of it that gets more into the consultancy side. These are architects and engineers. To go back to just our general managers and our current staff, I do not expect our general manager of one of our venues to be able to know when the roof on the building needs to be replaced. I don't put that in their, list of things and expectations.
They'll tell you when it's leaking.
They'll tell us when it's leaking, and then we'll triage it and fix it, maybe in the middle of the winter where it'd be more costly. So to be clear, we do not have that maintenance piece to our staff. And I don't expect our general managers to be in charge of that. I do also very much feel that we have the responsibility to protect the assets and the capital infusions that we receive from the state and to do that responsibly. If you look at the And again, $625 million in insured assets. And that doesn't include a whole slew of much smaller buildings that are valued at under 150, or infrastructure that's valued at under 150. So if you look at the 3 million compared to the 625 million that we insure, it's a very small percentage. And it is one that over the life of it, it will create a maintenance plan. They will make a recommendation on a program to help track and utilize across all the different areas that we do for maintenance, so that it's, you know, it's not only being maintained, but it's being recorded. So if we do have a changeover in staff, there's consistency. A lot of things that we're doing right now are with paper logs. We need to get our arms around what we currently have. If we were to try and put together a maintenance plan today, it would fail with the current setup that we have, because we do not even have our arms around all the assets that we own. So I understand the price is high, and we could buy new things with the price, but we need to protect the things that we currently have before we bring more things online.
Just one thing, I understand this is a good idea to do this and have a handle on it. I just, having heard about this only for the first time, and it's a $3 million project, and it goes for a year and a half. And you never know if it's going to continue after that, or how committed we are. I'd just like to have more information or more specifics from them as to how they're charging us. And
we meet with them.
Anyway, I think I would hesitate to vote right now on it. That's all.
Ask who?
Do you want to ask the exec committee to take a look at it in more depth and do something? That's up to you.
I'd rather vote on it.
Okay.
To tell you the truth, but Art, please.
So I think Ed spoke very well, but my question is, if the venue manager doesn't have that ability right now to look at the leaky roof is a great example, then when we get this gold bonded consulted plan, what makes you think that we're going to have the people to implement it if they can't do it themselves right now?
So there's two pieces to it. Part of this is a discussion about shifting part of our Office of Planning and Construction's work to include maintenance. So right now, if something breaks at a facility, they end up getting the phone call because they're the closest thing to a maintenance.
Right.
So helping to support an arm of maintenance there, that it's being managed centrally across and supporting the venues, depending on the level of maintenance necessary, right? So there's a workforce component to it. There is going to need to be an increased focus at the venues and centrally on maintenance. So we'll have to take a look at how we either shift some responsibilities or add some staff to help support the maintenance, depending on what we find out. But there's also a lot of work. We'll use the roof. Our staff's not going to replace the roof. So there's a lot of budgeting that can be done, so that then we're appropriately budgeting to replace the roof when necessary and hiring people to do so. So there's
Before it starts leaking.
Before it starts leaking. So there's two different levels, right? What would be done and hired out and done as a project, and the routine vehicle maintenance, the easier facilities things that we can do in-house. So there's going to have to be either shifted responsibilities or additional staff to ensure that we can support those maintenance needs.
This is just probably a silly question. Do we have somebody on staff that kind of does that is a full-time project manager, for lack of a better word?
It does not maintenance. We have planning and construction.
I'm just curious. I don't know. I mean,
we have a pretty big department. During the major overhaul in the last 5 years, I think, didn't we have 3 or 4 engineers on staff and more
We have a number, so in our OEPC, I think we have about 8 staff ranging from project managers who have different backgrounds in architects or engineer, some more focused on water. We also they have some administrative help as well.
But would it behoove, I'm just throwing it out there, don't listen to me, but I'm just for my own,
Whether you like it or not.
yeah. But would it behoove us to have, I mean, regardless of this contract, maybe not regardless of it, would it behoove us to have someone on? I mean, you could probably hire someone to be a full-time, they call clerk of the works, general or whatever, project manager. Could they do the same work as these people, and you would have that person or 2 people on staff to do that? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out.
Hire additional staff and have them do this work rather than bring in somebody else?
It's just, if it would ease the.
Yeah, I think the only.
I'm just putting it out.
Yeah, I think the only concern with that is being able to get the engineers with the specialty to assess the condition of like the refrigeration plant. That's a different person than somebody who does the ski lift.
Yeah. I just mentioned it.
But you're not saying this group that's coming in is going to be able to have the expertise in all these different areas.
They're going to bring in the experts from.
Which is what would happen in this particular scenario, right? If you hire someone who's going to ask the right questions, get the right people behind it.
But that's why it sounds like it costs so much as you're paying the billable hours for those experts to travel and spend the time assessing the condition of those. So I'm starting to understand it better. It's not just a consultant talking to the facility manager, regurgitating it. It's that conditions assessment of $625 million worth of a variety of pieces of equipment. That's going to be quite the team of experts. They're going to have to come here to grade each piece of equipment and estimate the.
You're right. Probably 1 or 2 people wouldn't be able to do that full time. Yeah.
At least not.
I just thought. I mean, and I believe this. And our Joe had mentioned that. It just. I mean, we don't ever want to fall into the situation that we were in the 90s, right? In the early 2000s, where these facilities were
worn out.
Just. Let's face it, they weren't. They didn't have the investment that they did, and thank God that, I mean, the legislature and the governor, and a few people here saw saw what the potential here to reinvest hundreds of millions of dollars, like you say, 600, and I don't ever want to see that happen again. So.
Ashley, can I make a suggestion that if we do move forward, depending on however we do it, that when these people come in, they don't waste time telling us when the light bulbs need to be changed and how often the light switches need to be done. That you give them a guidance saying, I'm only interested in having you look at items that are going to cost more than $200,000 to fix or whatever. Don't have them waste time on the things that, to Ed's point, no maintenance guy is going to follow a book and change a light switch because it says to do it in the book. They're just not going to do that. So if we decide to move forward on this, and I'm with Betty, I think it would be great to talk to this group and hear from them directly. But I would really emphasize with them, like, keep your eye on the prize. We don't want the deck of the ski jump. We don't have to close the ski jumps because it's in disrepair. But like, if that door needs to be fixed, you don't need to tell us that. We can see that ourselves. You know what I mean? I think there's a difference in their levels.
We can certainly, dictate the level of detail that they're going to provide and focus it to ensure that we're, we want to spend the money wisely, right? Mm-hmm. So worry about the things that are necessary. Now, I don't know exactly how they'll go about it. If we have a brand new building, they may say, light switches in 10 years, check, without looking and spending time, right? But we can really focus them on the larger assets, kind of a menu of services, if you will, what they're going to address and what priority. And honestly, if we could choose venue by venue if we want, and if we're to ensure that, we're getting the return on the value. But for me, that we make decisions as an organization a lot about the priorities, looking at all venues together. So I wouldn't want to have to pick and choose a venue and, make decisions based on the information that we know and not have the full picture with all of the venues together. So, but yes, we can ensure that they've got some parameters that they're working within.
So I'm not, I don't know if I'm correctly reading the sense of the board here, but we have two options, I think. We can move forward and give Ashley the authorization to to enter into this contract, not to exceed $3 million based on how it's been described. We could ask this group to come back and talk to either the full board or the executive committee and explain in greater detail than perhaps we have today what why the necessity of this. I will just reiterate my earlier point that I don't think there's any way to do this in-house. Our engineering team is all out with the projects they have right in front of them now. And I've been fairly involved in the construction projects and some of the difficulties we've had that they've had to focus on full time. So this isn't going to happen in-house anytime soon. I'd rather tackle it on the front end and go through this process and again have a handbook, if you will, at how we're going to keep what we've got in good shape for the foreseeable future. Again, I'm 30 years. I don't know anybody that looks into the future for 30 years, but for the foreseeable future, I think we need a roadmap on how we keep the facilities up because many of them are in great shape. Many of them still are not. We didn't get to everything in the build up to the FISU games. And we see that now with the work we're doing on the bobsled as one example, the ski jumps are another. So I like the fact that we're sort of tackling something that every large organization struggles with. And it's even the system of knowing what you have and computerizing it, not keeping it on paper, so that you have a list of assets, a list of a timetable and a calendar for when things ought to be replaced or repaired or maintained, oil changed, that kind of stuff be super helpful. Does that mean we won't need any additional staff in the future? I don't think there's any way we can promise that now. In fact, it may identify the need for additional staff to help implement the roadmap that we get out of this group. So I'm comfortable going ahead. I certainly sense the discomfort and I understand it. It's a lot of money, but again, compared to the number of assets we have, I think again, it's worth the upfront investment, but that's my own opinion. So,
Joe?
Yes.
If I might just to offer some context, not specifically to address the sticker shock because these exercises are expensive, but you mentioned, the potential need for future staff. And, when I've thought about these plans in the past, their value is not just in avoiding or limiting the costs of the repairs themselves, and that level of coordination, but they become very useful as a hedge, really a risk management tool with succession planning when staff turnover. Very often in organizations that have this kind of heavy infrastructure, they become very dependent on the folks who are there, long tenured. As there is turnover and succession, the translation of that institutional knowledge and the needs of the facilities, that perspective is really difficult very often to accomplish. Plans like this, when well done, really don't just sit on the shelf, but they become really, I think, a foundation of continuity and avoiding the risks of some of the dropping of the ball that happens inevitably sometimes, depending on how much money is available. So you get ahead of things. The other thing I'd mention too, and I think it's implicit in what you all are putting forth, is that you're not only managing risk associated with making repairs, but all the collateral consequences of the interruption in operations, the interruptions in revenue generation that occur when you have sort of failures that are unplanned. So this, this isn't necessarily guarantee a future because, the comments earlier are really important. It's got to be exercised. It's got to be implemented. You kind of got to live by it as best you can and make the hard decisions in order to get the benefit out of it. But certainly, I think the mission of the organization is to provide visitor services and to have continuity of operations when we're doing it. So things that we do and investments, frankly, which is how, you might look at this, this plan, really help in a non-financial way as well by ensuring continuity of operations and, the enjoyment of the people of the facilities that have been so heavily invested in.
Thank you, Chris. Others?
Is this in this year's, it says, what is it, first quarter of 26? So we have the money in this fiscal year budget.
It's a capital expense.
So it's not in our current capital budget.
We have the funds available, yes. It would not be a request for the upcoming fiscal year.
So comments on the two alternatives. Are there some that would like or could use additional information? I heard you, Betty, and just want to be responsive to that. Or are folks comfortable enough voting? And it is up to the board.
I would propose that, I don't know if it has to be the executive committee, but you could appoint a committee to, and I don't think they have to be physically here in person, but you could do a Zoom call and get one or two more board members to listen to them, put on their sales job on why this is what we need, why it would be beneficial. To me, I think it's worth that.
But in that Zoom, I would just like to have them be more specific to our needs, not just do a dog and pony show, but specific to our needs.
Oh, I think to your point, I think we would prep them before the Zoom meeting saying, how are you going to analyze the Olympic Center? How are you going to analyze what snowmaking needs are at the 3 ski areas? How do you do what you're proposing to do? Because I still don't, I understand they have hotshot engineers and architects or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like there's people in the ski industry that I would trust more giving us advice on how to run snowmaking systems and lifts and ski area operations. Because if we get down to it, those are our revenue producers. Our other ones are lost leaders, whether it's the Bob Run or the Olympic Center or the Oval. And so
Art, I would say to that, it is not about the ski centers. Our facilities obviously run the gamut. We have ski jumps, we've got bobsleds, we've got a civic center-like facility. It's not about skiing. It's about all of our infrastructure collectively and how we make investments in each of those going forward, both on a maintenance schedule and future investments. You want to look at ski areas? Yeah, we could go out and hire ski consultants to look at those. And then we could hire consultants when we have to advise us on what we should do to the bobsled track. We're in a world of consultants. So we could hire lots of individual consultants. This is one group that comes in and evaluates everything. Are they qualified to do that? To sort of Bill's point, I was impressed that they've done a variety of very similar type of activities, not necessarily in our specific, trade, if you will, but on transportation facilities. They are engineers that just evaluate things, how they work mechanically, physically. So again, there's lots of different ways I think to tackle this. I'm personally in favor of sort of tackling it all at once And going forward, if we're not satisfied that this is the right group or that it's, we're still not satisfied that they have the capacity to do this in 12 or 18 months and give us a good roadmap that's going to help us make intelligent decisions, that's fair. And I'm happy to have them, come in and explain specifically how they're going to address our facilities. And that's, again, it is a big expense. So I'm happy to, I defer to Ashley to say, is this process okay? It seems like it should be. Getting another stage of evaluation and making sure the board is comfortable, I think, is important. So,
yeah, I want the board to be comfortable. And I think one of the things too to remember outside of the work that they've done with states, they have done work with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. So they've done this building out in Colorado Springs. The USOPC has multiple swimming pools, fitness centers, running tracks, a velodrome, dormitories that can house up to 400 people, a major cafeteria, a ton of infrastructure. They were struggling with exactly what we're struggling with right now, right? Different ages adding on and not being able to effectively plan for the future because they're currently in a state of triage. We have to get out of it. We have to get ourselves to a place where we understand exactly what we have, how we're going to maintain it, how we're going to budget so that we're looking at, the appropriate lift replacement at the right time, the appropriate maintenance for a compressor. Should we be alternating those compressors out, reducing the use of one so that we can extend the lifetime of multiple of them, ensuring that the $500,000 groomer is being, maintained on a regular basis so that we don't have to buy a new one in 5 years and we can get 10 years out of it. To me, it's everything that we do a tremendous job of running venues. We've expanded to year round. To Betty's point earlier, there is no downtime anymore. We don't have time to stop and really plan. We're doing that as we're now operating year round and welcoming guests every day.
So in the spirit of keeping time for everybody, respecting everyone's time, I feel like there's enough question out there that we should maybe take up the option of having them come in and talk to board members who require or just need more information to make a decision they feel comfortable with. And that could be like their deliverables and what they've done before, like you said, who they've worked with. I think that would make me feel much more comfortable about saying yes to $3 million. Totally get why you need this, Ashley. Totally supporting it. Makes a lot of sense. I've been in a lot of nonprofits with large facilities, so it's something I've heard before over and over again. So it's great to have a solution. But I think from what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling that we just need a little more information about these folks, and we didn't have it for this meeting, for this vote.
And a little bit more about the structure of how it's going to happen and when we are committed and what steps they've gotten to and at what position we are or do. What if they use up the whole $3 million in 6 months? I don't know. I just need to know more. I'm sorry. And I think I hadn't heard about this before today.
So I will suggest we defer on the vote today. We get back to them, ask them for more detail along the lines that we've talked about, and then have the opportunity to either do a Zoom call or some kind of follow-up session with them where we can get into the particulars.
And the other thing I think that's important to think about is once we have the plan, who at ORDA is responsible for executing the plan.
And that's part of this project, is for them to help build out the workforce staffing plan to ensure that it can be successful. And that may be, again, shifting of responsibilities and additional staff. I will say there's not a way that we move forward with what we currently have from a staffing standpoint to accomplish all of this. I think, full transparency, we're going to need to set up some sort of maintenance, either on the venue side or centrally, to ensure that we can deliver on what potentially will come forward as, quite a robust maintenance plan.
To me, that sounds like a really good investment.
So our next meeting is when?
Not until March, so we need to schedule something.
So we may have to,
Executive committee.
well, we either bring it to the executive, we call the board meeting, a full board meeting before our March meeting. So we can figure out a schedule, but I don't think we want to wait till March
No.
to get this underway.
Okay, we'll work on
Okay.
schedule something. Yep.
I mean, you have to have a resolution from the full board anyway, right?
You have to, I'm sorry,
The resolution has to pass the full board anyway.
an executive committee could consider.
Pass a resolution? Oh.
I don't like to use the executive committee for obvious reasons. I'd like the full board to be engaged, so it's not my first choice. Okay, so I think we have a plan on this. Is there any further discussion?
Joe,
Yes.
I think you should probably take a motion, have a motion to defer on this until the next board meeting so that we have an official decision today about what we've decided to do.
I'll make a motion to table this resolution to the next board meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Thank you. Good discussion. I think that concludes today's board meeting. So are there any other items folks want to bring up before we close?
I guess while we have the whole board here, I think that if we have specific questions like Betty does and I do, that I think it's fairer for us to give those to Ashley or Michelle or Emily so that the consultant can come prepared. So that I don't think this Zoom call needs to be very long. I think it just needs to give some board members some more comfortability with this company.
And we can also ask for some, written material in advance as well. So, no, well, good point. We'll do that. I think people should express their concerns, questions in writing to Ashley, and then we consolidate them, provide them to the firm so that they can prepare. Great. Okay. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Before we do that, could I ask one question of Ashley? Is there any update on Gore Mountain and the ski bowl opening or progress?
So we are waiting and anticipating that we'll have the full timeline for the construction project for the town of Johnsburg wastewater project. But we're supposed to have it by the end of the day today. We did get some initial, we had been asking for timelines on the completion so that we could make a decision on whether we would invest in Holden Hall, and if so, what that would look like and for what period of time. They have now been facing some winter conditions, which was not in the initial contracts for the contractors that are completing the town of Johnsburg wastewater project. The quick note that we got today from the town engineers said that upon their initial pass and review, the earliest that the project would be done would be May, but they are really anticipating that it would be late June at this point. We still do not have the detailed schedule, and we cannot make a decision until we have all of the information. The other piece of it that we are waiting on is a commissioning plan, because there's a lot of financial impacts that the commissioning plan will have on whether we move forward and when we're able to open. So Betty, those two items are pending. We have had some positive conversations outside of that, looking forward, particularly around with the county. So I'm hopeful that once we get that information, we can make some decisions, and we'll have some partners at the table to help us to open the lodge as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions about Johnsburg or anything else before we conclude? Did I get a motion? Did I get it?
Yes.
By Art,
Yes.
seconded by Billy.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Passed unanimously.